What is happening, baby? Welcome back to the Huddle Chat Sports Network's very own Fantasy Football Huddle, presented by Danklyfe brand and yours truly, Dallas Clark. Today, I'm talking about those must-have players that I've been struggling to leave drafts without. I'm looking at these players and I'm seeing that I'm drafting them a lot more than other players, and especially over these last couple of weeks doing more mock drafts and doing my real drafts, getting set up to hoist that trophy over those other idiots in the fantasy football leagues like you are yourself. I find myself targeting these players due to their high value and the insane upside that they do present, or that the situation that they're in definitely presents for them. Today we're going to be talking about those players in depth, and I'm going to give you my favorite must-have players in drafts. But before we do, make sure that if you need any fantasy football advice, any fantasy football tips, or just want some great fantasy football content, you smash that subscriptions bar as well as that notifications bell, and help a brother out and hit that like button, because you have no idea what that does for this channel and what it does for me in the morning when I wake up and seeing how much y'all like this content. But if you haven't yet, make sure you check us out over on Spotify at the Huddle Chat Sports, just like you can find us on Twitter or Facebook, and hit us with a follow if you're listening to that more convenient, easy to access version over on Spotify. Now, before we get started, as always, let's fill up our cups, roll something up, and get right into the first player we're talking about, who is going to be T. Higgins from the Cincinnati Bengals. He's a wide receiver 2, who's currently being drafted as a wide receiver 3, early wide receiver 4. At the end of the day, he has wide receiver 1 upside. I hope you're following all of these numbers I just put out to you, because don't let recency bias cloud your judgment or really make you make a bad choice when it comes to T. Higgins or the rest of the Cincinnati Bengals. You're looking at Joe Burrow having a rough year last year, going through all those injuries, and everybody else had to pay the price for that. You're looking at T. Higgins also dealing with injuries himself and having piss-poor quarterback play when he was available. You're looking at a healthy Joe Burrow, a healthy T. Higgins coming into this still pass-first offense, still one of the most efficient offenses in the league. T. Higgins is definitely all over my draft board, as well as Jalen Waddle, wide receiver 2 from the Miami Dolphins. Similar situation as T. Higgins. You're looking at one of the most underrated players coming into the beginning of the fantasy football research, and I talked about him in depth in my early preseason breakdown. Now that we're getting into the late portions of the season, I will have some updated rankings coming over the next couple of days as you get into that week 1 of the regular season, as well as some waiver wire pickup ads, all kinds of good information as you get into that final approach to the first Sunday that you have to start players. Now, going back to Jalen Waddle, he still has one of the best values available in drafts. Well, a lot of the people have changed. A lot of rankings have changed throughout the preseason, and Jalen Waddle really just seems to still be one of the best values that you can achieve at the current moment, especially if you go running back early. This wide receiver, when healthy, when playing in this offense that we all know what it is capable of, he can produce like a wide receiver 1 and really save you on those people that go wide receiver or go running back early, because the rest of the league is hammering those wide receivers. Jalen Waddle can give you wide receiver 1 production. He may not be as good as Tyreek Hill or have as high of a ceiling as Tyreek Hill. However, if Tyreek Hill does miss any time, you're looking at Jalen Waddle instantly jumping up to a top 10 option. If you want to jump up to a top 1 option in your fantasy football league, make sure you hit that subscriptions bar as well as that notifications bell, so you always know when new content is coming out and hitting those airwaves. And I'd like to extend you the invite to the THC Sports Fantasy Football Showdown. It's going to be a $20 entry, and I have just a couple of spots left. If you're one of those people I've hit up in my comments, or you're getting interested just hearing me talk about this here on this video today, drop down in the comments, but I really encourage you to hit us up over on the Huddle Chat Sports on Twitter, at the Huddle Chat. Or you can join us on our new Discord that I'll have a link in the description below, where we're going to be starting to have all kind of new community content, more in-depth analysis on things that I don't have the time to do here on the YouTube channel, and a great place to contact myself as well as the rest of the community that we've built over here on the Huddle Chat Sports Network. Now, going back into the players that you cannot leave your drafts without, I'm talking about Jordan Love from the Green Bay Packers. When you're looking at this quarterback situation this year, it's a stacked quarterback room. It's going to be hard to come out of your draft with a bad quarterback. You may not get one of those elite quarterbacks, and that really seems to be the flow right now is if you miss out on one of those elite quarterbacks, you're allowing yourself to kind of hammer that wide receiver and running back depth. And Jordan Love really fits that profile perfectly, and a player that you can get at a good enough discount that also can provide you top 5 quarterback play. Need I remind you that Jordan Love, despite struggling through the first 6 weeks of the season last year, finished as the 5th best fantasy football quarterback last year. You're looking at Jordan Love having the upside. We see it's there. The offense has gotten improvements. We know that he's just getting better and better, getting past that sophomore slump and getting into the veteran years of his career. He's hitting that prime. The Packers do have some moving and shaking going on in the parts around him, but they have an overcrowded wide receiver room. He's not going to be lacking in targets with Christian Watson, Dontavion Wicks, and the large amount of wide receivers that they have, as well as Josh Jacobs now being in the backfield. You're looking at the upside being there without the worries with Jordan Love at the ADP. While drafting an elite quarterback is definitely an advantage, Jordan Love presents an advantage in his own by being a top 5 upside quarterback that does not have the price tag attached to him that the rest of them do. Now, attaching himself to Jordan Love is going to be Christian Watson, who we mentioned before, who should be the number 1 wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers this year if he can stay healthy. He's been plagued by hamstring injuries for the first 2 years of his career, and with how good Jordan Love is, you're looking at Christian Watson being currently drafted outside of the top 40 wide receivers. He's being drafted actually right now at wide receiver 40, so being a wide receiver 4 at best, and he can finish easily inside the top 20 and really presents top 15 upside with how good Jordan Love is. So I definitely am also adding Christian Watson to that list of must-have players. So after following up with that back-to-back Packers players that we had there, we're going to be moving on to the running backs and going to Zamir White from the Las Vegas Raiders. You're looking at him being drafted currently at the end of the RB2 list, so being an RB3 flex consideration player. And you're looking at last year after Antonio Pierce took over as the head coach and offensive coordinator of the Las Vegas Raiders. You're looking at Zamir White getting boosted to over 20 touches per game. You're looking at him torching Kansas City and Denver in that latter half of the season after Antonio Pierce took over. There's not much competition right now for Zamir White by ways of somebody taking his carries or anything like that. You're looking at Antonio Pierce wanting to run, the quarterback play not being elite. There's a lot of potential with Zamir White to be a completely solid running back 2 for you that you're drafting at the price of a flex player. Last player we're going to be talking about today is tight end Evan Ingram from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, he may not be the sexiest pick, sexiest tight end pick, let alone pick overall. But you're typically seeing those elite tight ends go off the board pretty early. You're not getting Travis Kelce or Sam Laporta at a discount. And when those players start coming off the board, you're looking at that kind of soft middle tier of tight ends coming off the board quicker than they should because people are getting nervous that they're going to miss out on elite tight end production. And quietly, Evan Ingram just sits there and waits for the smart player that you are to take Evan Ingram and add him to your roster. You're looking at Evan Ingram having an absolutely asinine amount of volume in Jacksonville. You're looking at him finishing as tight end 4 last year. The volume that he gets is key, and volume is key in fantasy football overall. Evan Ingram easily gets 130 targets this year, and he's a very consistent player. He may not be one of the top elite tight ends, but he will not disappoint you, and especially when you start getting those double-digit weeks, week after week from Evan Ingram, you're going to be happy you tuned in to the Huddle Chat Sports and got this information. That's going to be it for the must-have players today. As I've said before, I've got waiver wire ads coming up. I've got the updated rankings coming up for you guys. I've got the continuation of the rookie playbook, all kinds of good content coming out for you over the next week as we approach our first live episode of the year on that first Sunday. That's going to do it today, everybody. Make sure you keep your chin up and your attitude down, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.